the black and white scotch flowed like water. Everybody imbibed, and all of the families around an hour set, fondly known as the cocktail set, would swap back and forth on weekends and holidays and summer evenings and things like that. And gin was the preferred thing. And then in the winters, everybody switched to the amber liquids of basically scotch. The idea of booze generally, and the cocktail set particularly, is for all of those who were my age, they learned to drink at their mother's knee, which is what they were taught to do. Because in those days, you emulated your parents, and that was heavy smoking and heavy drinking. They were all type A. They were overachievers, and I don't know how they survived. They did it. I mean, my parents did radio and television and commuted and did the farm and raised 6 of us. And they were fueled by Gilbey's and black and white. The earliest memories I have are those parties, especially the get-togethers at Christmas, when the mothers would play, Lee Smithers would play, my mother would play the piano, and we all sang Christmas carols, and then would repair to the dining room of the season for a bowl of champagne punch, and typically to celebrate the seasons. There wasn't so much wine and beer for our group of friends and families. But beer was definitely in evidence everywhere, and ale. In those days, it was Rheingold. There's a wonderful jingle from Rheingold, the extra dry beer. Think of Rheingold whenever you try beer. It's not bitter, not sweet, long-lasting treat. Drink Rheingold beer. The beers that were around, or the bars that are around that catered to everybody, including the top of the line, which was the Elbow Room in the Red Hook Hotel, was a famous watering hole up and down Route 9. And between 1945 and 55 was really until the hotel was sold, and the press of actually what changed Red Hook forever in that regard, specifically to local watering holes, was the opening of the Kingston-Rhinecliff Bridge in 1957. But until then, and long thereafter, the Elbow Room in the hotel, which is very nice, and was a watering hole, especially for my father, Willard, and Carl Stockenberg. Carl and Woody became fast friends, and they'd often repair to the Elbow Room and swap tales and, do what people did in those days, which are, even though my father was head of daytime radio during the war and after for Young and Rubicam in Manhattan, and take the train in with my mother every morning from Red Hook to New York and then come back, they still found time on the weekends to get together and be involved in the local community, because they did everything then. Everybody did everything. It was a small town. We all knew each other after a while. There were also other bars in town. The St. Regis Hotel, now the Country Inn, the Red Hook Country Inn, was the Hendricks House beginning in the 1840s, and then in the 20th century held sway as the St. Regis, or the Regis Hotel, and that was the competition to the Red Hook Hotel. In those days, there were bars around that were specifically bars, okay? And in the village of Red Hook, there was Frankie Nee's, and then the one I was most familiar with, because every day you passed by it, it was the same. And O'Briel's. Now, O'Briel's had been built it was at the corner of Cherry Street and East Market. But Cherry Street was the original road to Pine Plains. And so the building itself, O'Briel's Hotel, or bar, really, which has been Luna 69, and then it was the Italian restaurant, and now it's a French restaurant about to open, was a Bartles bar. And it was weathered and without paint, benefit of paint for a century or two. But every time you went by it, these two guys were sitting, holding up the bar and drinking beer.